Thou troublest me. I am not in the vein.
Is it even so? Rewards he my true service with a deep contempt made I him king for this. Let me think on Hastings, and be gone to Brecknock while my fearful head is on. Scene 3, the same, enter Tyrell. Tyrell?
Kill the king's kids. All right.
Also, the two in the tower that he was talking about are the kids.
Yes.
Yep. Their bones historically were actually found later underneath the bridge.
How old is King Richard III at this time? Well, he's King Richard III now, right? Because before he was Gloucester.
Yeah, I think in his 30s, late 30s.
Interesting.
Because he died at 39. Yeah.
Scene 3, the same, enter Tyrell.
The tyrannous and bloody act is done. The most arch deed of piteous massacre that ever yet this land was guilty of. Dighton and Forrest, whom I did suborn to do this piece of ruthless butchery, albeit they were fleshed villains, bloody dogs, melted with tenderness and mild compassion, wept like two children in their death's sad story. Oh, thus, quoth Dighton, lay those gentle babes. Thus, quoth Forrest, girdling one another within their alabaster innocent arms. Their lips were 4 red roses on the stalk, and in their summer beauty kissed each other. A book of prayers on their pillow lay, which once, quoth Forrest, almost changed my mind. But oh, the devil! There the villain stopped. When Dighton thus told on, we smothered the most replenished, sweet work of nature from the prime creation ere she framed. Hence both are gone with conscience and remorse. They could not speak, so I left them both to bear this tidings to the bloody king. Here he comes. All hail, my sovereign lord.
Kind Tyrell, am I happy in thy news?
If to have done this thing you gave in charge, beget your happiness, be happy then, for it is done.
But didst thou see them dead?
I did, my lord.
And buried, gentle Tyrell?
The chaplain of the tower hath buried them. But where, to say the truth, I do not know.
Come to me, Tyrell, soon, at after supper, and thou shalt tell the process of their death. Meantime, but think how I may do thee good, and be inheritor of thy desire. Farewell till soon.
I humbly take my leave.
The son of Clarence have I pent up close. His daughter meanly have I matched in marriage. The sons of Edward sleep in Abraham's bosom. And Anne, my wife, hath bid the world good night. Now, for I know that Brenton Richmond aims at young Elizabeth, my brother's daughter, and by that knot looks proudly over the crown. To her I go, a jolly thriving wooer.
My lord.
Good news or bad, thou comest in so bluntly.
Bad news, my lord. Ellie is fled to Richmond, and Buckingham, backed with the hardy Welshman, is in the field, and still his power increaseth.
Eli, with Richmond troubles me more near than Buckingham, and his rash levied army. Come, I have heard that fearful commenting is leaden servitor to dull delay. Delay leads impotent and snail-paced beggary. Then fiery expedition be my wing, Jove's Mercury and herald for a king. Come, muster men, my counsel is my shield. We must be brief when traitors brave the field.
Scene 4. Before the palace, enter Queen Margaret.
So now prosperity begins to mellow and drop into the rotten mouth of death. Here in these confines, silly have I lurked to watch the waning of mine enemies. A dire induction am I witness to, and will to friends, hoping the consequence will prove as bitter, black, and tragical, withdraw thee, wretched Margaret. Who comes here?
Ah, my poor princess! Ah, my tender babes! My unblown flowers, new appearing, sweet, if yet your gentle souls fly in the air, and be not fixed in doom perpetual. Hover about me with your airy wings, and hear your mother's lamentation.
Hover about her, say that right for right hath deemed your infant born to aged night.
So many miseries have crazed my voice that my woe-weary tongue is mute and dumb. Edward Plantagenet, why art thou dead?
Plantagenet doth quit. Plantagenet, Edward for Edward, pays a dying debt.
Wilt thou, O God, fly from such gentle lambs and throw them in the entrails of the wolf? When didn't thou sleep when such a deed was done?
When holy Harry died, and my sweet son.
Blind sight, dead life, poor mortal living ghost. Woe seed, world shame, graves due by life usurped, brief abstract and record of tedious day. Rest thy unrest on England's lawful earth, unlawfully made drunk with innocent blood.
Ah, that thou wouldst as soon afford a grave as thou canst yield a melancholy seat. Then would I hide my bones, not rest them here. Ah, but who hath any cause to mourn but I?
If ancient sorrow be most reverent, give mine the benefit of seniority, and let my griefs frown on the upper hand. If sorrow can admit society, tell o'er your woes again by viewing mine. I had an Edward till a Richard killed him. I had a Henry till a Richard killed him. Thou hadst an Edward till a Richard killed him. Thou hast a Richard till a Richard killed him.
I had a Richard too, and thou didst kill him. I had a Rutland too. Thou hopedst to kill him.
Thou hast a Clarence too, and a Richard killed him. From forth the kernel of thy womb hath crept a hellhound that doth hunt us all to death. The dog that had his teeth before his eyes, to worry lambs and lap their gentle blood, that foul defacer of God's handiwork, that excellent grand tyrant of the earth, that reigned in galled eyes of weeping souls, thy womb let loose to chase us to our graves. O upright, just, and true disposing God, how do I thank thee that this carnal cur preys on the issue of his mother's body and makes her pew fellow with others moan.
Oh, Harry's wife, triumph not in my woes. God witness with me, I have wept for thine.
Bear with me, I'm hungry for revenge, and now I cloy me with beholding it. Thy Edward, he is dead, that killed my Edward. The other Edward dead to quit my Edward. Young York, he is but boot, because both they match not the high perfection of my loss. Thy Clarence, he is dead that stabbed my Edward, and the beholder of this frantic play, the adulterer Hastings Rivers, Vaughan, Gray, untimely smothered in their dusky grave. Richard yet lives, hell's black intelligender. Only we reserved their factor to buy souls and send them thither. But at hand, ensue his piteous and unpitied end. Earth gapes, hell burns, fiend roared, saints pray to have him suddenly covered from hence. Cancel his bond of life. Dear God, I pray that I may live to say the dog is dead.
Oh, thou didst prophesy the time would come that I should wish for thee to help me curse that bottle spider, that foul bunch-blacked toad.
I call thee then, vain flourish of my fortune. I call thee then, poor shadow-painted queen, the presentation but what I was, the flattering index of direful pageant, one heaved a high to be hurled down below, a mother only mocked with two fair babes, a dream of what thou wast, a garnished flag, to be the aim of every dangerous shot, a sign of dignity, a breath, a bubble, a queen in jest, only to fill the scene. Where is thy husband now? Where be thy brothers? Where be thy two sons? Wherein dost thou joy? Who sues the cannot and kneels and says, God save the queen? Where be the bending peers that flutters thee? Where be the throning troops that follow thee? Decline all this, and see what now thou art, for happy wife, a most distressed widow, for joyful mother, one that wails the name, for one being sued to, one that humbly sues, for a queen, a very caitiff, crowned with care, for she that scorns at me, now scorned of me, for she being feared of all, now fearing one, for she commanding all, obeyed of none. Thus hath the course of justice wheeled about, and left thee but a very prey to time, having no more but thought of what thou wast, to torture thee the more, being what thou art. Thou didst usurp my place, and dost thou not usurp the just proportion of my sorrow? Now thy proud neck bears half my burden yoke, from which even here I slip my weary head, and leave the burden of all on thee, Farewell, York's wife, and Queen of said mischance. These English woes shall make me smile in France.
O thou well skilled in curses, stay a while, and teach me how to curse mine enemies.
Forbear to sleep the night and fast the day. Compare dead happiness with living woe. Think that thy babes were sweeter than they were, and he that slew them fouler than he is. Bettering thy loss makes the bad cursor worse. Revolving this will teach thee how to curse.
My words are dull, O quicken them with thine.
Thy words will make them sharp and pierce like mine.
Why should calamity be full of words?
Windy attorneys to their client woes, airy successors of thy interstate joys, poor breathing orators of miseries, let them have scope, though what they do impart help nothing else, yet do they ease the heart.
If so, then be not tongue-tied, go with me, and in the breath of bitter words let's smother my damned son, which thy two sweet sons smothered. I hear his drum, he copious and exclaims,
Who intercepts my expedition?
Oh, she that might have intercepted thee by strangling thee in her accursed womb from all the slaughters wretch that thou hast done.
Hidest thou that forehead with the golden crown, where should be branded, if that right were right, the slaughter of the prince that owed that crown, and the dire death of my poor sons and brothers? Tell me, thou villain slave, where are my children?
Thou toad, thou toad! Where is thy brother Clarence, and little Ned Plantagenet his son?
Where is the gentle Rivers, Vaughan, Grey?
A flourish, trumpets! Strike alarms, drums! Leave not the heavens hear these telltale women. Rail on the Lord's anointed. Strike, I say. Either be patient or entreat me fair, or with clamorous report of war, thus will I drown your exclamations.
Art thou my son?
I thank God, my father, and yourself.
Then patiently hear my impatience.
Madam, I have a touch of your condition, which cannot brook the accent of reproof.
Oh, let me speak!
Do then, but I'll not hear.
I will be mild and gentle in my speech.
And brief, good mother, for I am in haste.
Art thou so hasty? I have stayed for thee, God knows, in anguish, pain, and agony.
And came I not at last to comfort you?
No, by the holy rule, thou know'st it well. Thou camest on earth to make the earth my hell. A grievous burthen was thy birth to me. Touchy and wayward was thy infancy. Thy school days frightful, desperate, wild, and furious. Thy prime of manhood daring, bold, and venturous. Thy age confirmed, proud, subdued, bloody, treacherous, more mild but yet more harmful, kind in hatred. What comfortable hour canst thou name that ever graced me in thy company?
Faith, none, but Humphrey Hour, that called your grace to breakfast once forth of my company. If I be so disgracious in your sight, let me march on, and not offend your grace. Strike the drum.
I prithee hear me speak.
You speak too bitterly.
Hear me a word, for I shall never speak to thee again.
So,
either thou wilt die by God's just ordinance, ere from this war thou turn a conqueror, or I with grief and extreme age shall perish, and never look upon thy face again. Therefore, take with thee my most heavy curse, which in the day of battle tire thee more than all the complete armor that thou wearest. My prayers on the adverse party fight, and there the little souls of Edward's children whisper the spirits of thine enemies, and promise them success and victory. Bloody thou art, bloody will be thy end. Shame serves thy life, and doth thy death attend.
Though far more cause, yet much less spirit to curse abides in me, I say amen to her.
Stay, madame. I must speak a word with you.
I have no more sons of the royal blood for thee to murder. For my daughters, Richard, they shall be praying nuns, not weeping queens, and therefore level not to hit their lives.
You have a daughter called Elizabeth, virtuous and fair, royal and gracious.
And must she die for this? Oh, let her live, and I'll corrupt her manners, stain her beauty, slander myself as false to Edward's bed, throw over her the veil of infamy, so she may live unscarred of bleeding slaughter. I will confess she was not Edward's daughter.
Wrong not her birth, she is of royal blood.
To save her life, I'll say she is not so.
Her life is only safest in her birth.
And only in that safety died her brothers.
Lo, at their births good stars were opposite.
No, to their lives ill friends were contrary.
All unavoided is the doom of destiny.
True, when avoided grace makes destiny. My babes were destined to a fairer death, if grace had blessed thee with a fairer life.
You speak as if I had slain my cousins.
Cousins indeed, and by their uncle cozened, of comfort, kingdom, kindred, freedom, life, whose hand soe'er lanced their tender hearts, thy head all indirectly gave direction. No doubt the murderous knife was dull and blunt, till it was whetted on thy stone-hard heart, to revel in the entrails of my lambs, that still use of grief makes wild grief tame. My tongue should fly to their ears, not name my boys, till that my nails were anchored in thine eyes, and I in such a desperate bay of death, like a poor bark of sails and tackling rift, rush all to pieces in their rocky bosom.
Madam, so thrive I in my enterprise and dangerous success of bloody wars, as I intend more good to you and yours than ever you or yours were wronged.
What good is covered with the face of heaven to be discovered that can do me good?
The advancement of your children, gentle lady.
Up to some scaffold, they're to lose their heads?
No, to the dignity and height of honor, the high imperial type of this earth's glory.
Flatter my sorrows with report of it. Tell me what state, what dignity, what honor canst thou demise to any child of mine?
Even all I have, yea, and myself, and all will I withdraw in thou a child of thine. So in the lith of thy angry soul thou drown the sad remembrance of those wrongs which thou supposest I have done to thee.
Be brief, lest that the process of thy kindness last longer telling than thy kindness' date.
Then know that from my soul I love thy daughter.
My daughter's mother thinks it is with her soul.
What do you think?
That thou dost love my daughter from thy soul, so that from thy soul's love didst thou love her brothers, and from my heart's love I do thank thee for it.
Be not so hasty to confound my meaning. I mean that with my soul I love thy daughter, and I mean to make her Queen of England.
Well, then who dost thou mean shall be her king?
Even he that makes her queen, who should be else?
What? Thou?
I, even I, What do you think of it, madame?
How canst thou woo her?
That would I learn from you, as one that are best acquainted with her humour.
And wilt thou learn of me?
Madam, with all my heart.
Send to her, by the man that slew her brothers, a pair of bleeding hearts, thereon engrave Edward and York, and then happily will she weep. Therefore present to her, as sometime Margaret did to thy father, steeped in Rutland's blood, a handkerchief which say to her, did drain that purple sap from her sweet brother's body, and bid her dry her weeping eyes withal, of this inducement to move her not to love. Send her a letter of thy noble deeds. Tell her thou madest away her uncle Clarence, her uncle Rivers, aye, and for her sake, maddest quick conveyance to her good aunt Anne.
Come, you mock me. This is not the way to win our daughter.
There is no other way, unless thou couldst put on some other shape, and not be Richard that hath done all this.
Say that I did all this for love of her.
Nay, then indeed she cannot choose but hear thee, having bought love with such a bloody spoil.
And from this, let's go to Act 5. I've got 15 pages yet for Act 4. I mean, yeah, Scene 5, Act 4. Scene 4, Act 5. Scene 5, Act 4.
Act 5, Scene 4?
No.
Act
Act 4, Scene 5.
Act 4, Scene 5.
Otherwise,
Earl
we'll
of
be here
Derby.
all night.
Act 5. Oops.
I'm just hanging out to read the ghosts.
Act 5, Scene 4? Is that what it is?
Act 4, Scene 5.
Act 4, Scene 5, Lord Derby's
Act 5,
house.
Scene 1. Act 5, Scene 1.
Oh, 5,
Right,
Scene
gotta
1.
do the ghost.
Okay.
Okay, Act 5, Scene 1.
Act
Starts with
5.
Buckingham.
Was that Act 5, Scene 1?
I see it starting with Derby.
Yes.
5 is the V, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
It's, yes, B.
Sir Christopher, tell Richmond this from me, that in the sty of this most bloody boar, my son George Stanley is franked up in hold. If I revolt, off goes young George's head. The fear of that withholds my present aid, but tell me, where is princely Richmond now?
At Pembroke or at Harvard West in Wales.
What men of name resort to him?
Sir Walter Herbert, a renowned soldier, Sir Gilbert Talbot, Sir William Stanley, Oxford, redoubted Pembroke, Sir James Blunt, and Rice ap Thomas with a valiant crew. Many more of noble fame and worth. Towards London they do bend their course. By the way, they be not fought withal.
Return unto thy lord, commend me to him. Tell him the queen hath heartily consented. He shall espouse Elizabeth her daughter. These letters will resolve him of my mind. Farewell.
Act 5, Scene 1, Salisbury, an open place. Enter the sheriff and Buckingham with halberd, led to execution. Will not King Richard let me speak with him?
No, my good lord, therefore be patient.
Hastings and Edward's children, Rivers, Grey, Holy King Henry and their fair son Edward, Vaughan, and all that have miscarried by the underhand corrupted foul injustice, if that your moody discontented souls do through the clouds behold this present hour, even for revenge mock my destruction, this All Souls' Day. Fellows, this is not.
It is, my lord.
Why then All Souls' Day is my body's doomsday. This is the day that in King Edward's time I wished might fall on me, when I was found false to his children or his wife's allies, this is the day wherein I wish to fall by the false faith of him I trusted most. This All Souls Day, to my fearful soul is the determined respite of all my wrongs. That high old seer that I dallied with hath turned my feigned prayer on my head, and given in earnest what I begged in jest. Thus doth he force the swords of wicked men to turn their own points on the master's bosom. Now Margaret's curse has fallen on my head, when he, quoth she, shall split thy heart with sorrow. Remember, Margaret was a prophetess. Come, sirs, convey me to the block of shame. Wrong hath but wrong, and blame the due of blame. Seeing to the camp near Tamworth, enter Richmond, Oxford, Blunt, Herbert, and others with drum and colours.
Fellows in arms and my most loving friends, bruised underneath the yoke of tyranny, thus far into the bowels of the land have we marched on without impediment. And here receive we from our father Stanley lines of fair comfort and encouragement. The wretched, bloody, and usurping boar that spoiled your summer fields and fruitful vines, swills your sworn blood like wash, and makes this trough in your emboweled bosoms this foul wine, lies now even in the center of this isle, near to the town of Leicester, as we learn. From Tamworth thither is but one day's march. In God's name, carry on, courageous friends, to reap the harvest of perpetual peace by this one bloody trial of sharp war.
Yes. Every man's conscience is 1,000 men to fight against this guilty homicide.
I doubt not but his friends will fly to us.
He
hath no friends, but who are friends for fear, which in his dearest need will fly from him.
All for our advantage, then in God's name march. True hope is swift and flies with swallows' wings. Kings it makes gods and meaner creatures kings.
Scene 3, Bosworth Field. Enter King Richard III in arms with Norfolk, Surrey, and others.
Here, pitch our tents, even here in Bosworth Field. My lord of Surrey, why look you so sad?
My heart is 10 times lighter than my look.
My lord of Norfolk?
Here.
Here, my gracious liege.
Norfolk, we must have knocks. Ha! Must we not?
We must both give and take, my loving lord.
Up with my tent there. Here will I lie tonight. But where tomorrow? Well, that's all one for that. Who hath descried the number of the foe?
6,000 or 7,000 at their utmost power.
Why, our battalion troubles that account. Besides, the king's name is a tower of strength, which they upon the adversary party want. Up with my tent there. Valiant gentlemen, let us survey the vantage of the field. Call for some men of sound direction. Let want no discipline. Make no delay, for, lords, tomorrow is a busy day.
The weary sun hath made a golden set, and by the bright track of his fiery car gives signal of a goodly day tomorrow. Sir William Brandon, you shall bear my standard. Give me some ink and paper in my tent. I'll draw the form and motto of our battle. Limit each leader to his several charge, and part in just proportion our small strength. My Lord of Oxford, you, Sir William Brandon, and you, Sir Walter Herbert, stay with me. The Earl of Pembroke keeps his regiment. Good Captain Blunt, bear my good night to him, and by the 2nd hour in the morning desire the Earl to see me in my tent. Yet one thing more, good Blunt, before thou goest. Where is Lord Stanley quartered, dost thou know?
Unless I have been mistaken his colors much, which will I am assured I have not done. His regiment lies 1/2 mile at least, and south from the high mighty power of the king.
If without peril it be possible, good Captain Blunt, bear my good knight to him, and give him from me this most needful scroll.
Upon my life, my lord, I'll undertake it, but so God give you quiet rest tonight.
Good night, good Captain Blunt. Come, gentlemen, let us consult upon tomorrow's business into our tent. The air is raw and cold.
What 'tis it o'clock?
It's supper time, my lord. It's 9 o'clock.
Yes, it's 9 o'clock.
I will not sup tonight. Give me some ink and paper. What, is my beaver easier than it was? Oh, and all my armor laid into my tent?
It is, my lord, and all things are in readiness.
Good Norfolk, hie thee to thy charge. Use careful watch. Choose trusty sentinels.
I go, my lord.
Stir with the lark tomorrow, gentle Norfolk.
I warrant you, my lord.
Gatsby.
Catesby, my lord.
Catesby, then. Whatever. Send out a Pursuvian at arms to Stanley's regiment. Bid him bring his power before sun rising, lest his son George fall into the blind cave of eternal night. Fill me a bowl of wine, give me a watch. Saddle white Surrey for the field tomorrow. Look that my staves be sound and not too heavy. Ratcliffe. Ratcliffe!
My lord. My lord.
Saw'st thou the melancholy Lord Northumberland?
Thomas of Earl of Surrey and himself, much about cockshot time, from troop to troop, went through the army, cheering up the soldiers.
So, I am satisfied. Give me a bowl of wine. I have not that alacrity of spirit, nor cheer of mind that I was wont to have. Set it down. Is ink and paper ready?
It is, my lord.
Bid my guard watch. Leave me. Radcliffe, about the mid of night, come to my tent and help me to arm me. Leave me, I say.
Fortune and victory sit on thy helm.
All comfort that the dark night can afford be to thy person, noble father-in-law. Tell me, how fares our loving mother?
I, by attorney, bless thee from thy mother, who prays continually for Richmond's good. So much for that. Silent hours steal on, and flaky darkness breaks within the east. In brief, for so the season bids us be, prepare thy battle early in the morning, and put thy fortune to the arbitrament of bloody strokes and mortals tearing war. I, as I may, that which I would I cannot, with best advantage will deceive the time, and aid thee in this doubtful shock of arms. But on thy side I may not be too forward, lest, being seen, thy brother tender George be executed in his father's sight. Farewell. The leisure and the fearful time cuts off the ceremonious vows of love and ample interchange of sweet discourse, which so long sundered friends should dwell upon. God give us leisure for these rites of love. Once more adieu, be valiant and speed well.
Good lords, conduct him to his regiment. I'll strive with troubled thoughts to take a nap, lest laden slumber pease me down tomorrow, when I should mount with wings of victory. Once more, good night, king lords and gentlemen. O thou, whose captain I account myself, look on my forces with a gracious eye. Put in their hands thy bruising iron of wrath, that they may crush down with a heavy fall the usurping helmets of our adversaries. Make us the ministers of the chastisement, that we may praise thee in victory. To thee I do commend my watchful soul, ere I let fall the windows of mine eyes. Sleeping and waking, oh, defend me still.
Let me sit heavy on thy soul tomorrow. Think how thou steppest me in my prime of youth at twixt very despair, therefore, and die. Be cheerful, Richmond, for the wronged souls of butchered princes fight is in thy behalf. A King Henry's issue, Richmond, comforts thee.
When I was mortal, my anointed body by thee was punctured full of deadly holes. Think on the tower and me, despair and die. Henry the Sixth bids thee despair and die. Virtuous and holy, be thou conqueror. Harry, thou prophesied thou shouldst be king, doth comfort thee in thy sleep. Live and flourish.
Let me sit heavy on thy soul tomorrow, I that was washed to death with fulsome wine. Poor Clarence, be thy guile betrayed to death. Tomorrow, in the battle, think on me, and fall thy edged sword, despair and die. Thou offspring of the house of Lancaster, the wronged heirs of York do pray for thee. Good angels guard thy battle. Live and flourish.
Let me sit heavy on thy soul tomorrow, Rivers, that died at Pomfret, despair and die.
Think on Gray, and let thy soul despair. Think upon Vaughan, and with guilty fear let fall thy lance, despair and die. Awake and find our wrongs in
Richard's bosom will
conquer them.
Awake and win the
day.
Blood and guiltily awake, and in a bloody battle end thy days. Think on Lord Hastings, despair and die. Quiet, untroubled soul, awake, awake, arm, fight, conquer for fair England's sake.
Richard thy wife, that wretched and thy wife, that never slept a quiet hour with thee, now fills thy sleep with perturbations. Tomorrow in the battle, think on me, and fall thy edgeless sword, despair and die. Thou quiet soul, sleep thou a quiet sleep. Dream of success and happy victory. Thy adversary's wife doth pray for thee.
Alas was I that helped thee to the crown. Alas was I that felt thy tyranny. Oh, in the battle, think on Buckingham, and die in terror of thy guiltiness. Dream on of bloody deeds and death. Fainting, despair, despairing, yield thy breath. I died for hope ere I could lend thee aid. But cheer thy heart, and be thou not dismayed. God and good angel fight on Richmond's side, and Richard falls in height of all his pride.
Give me another horse. Bind up my wounds. Have mercy, Yesu. Soft. I did but dream. O coward conscience, how dost thou affect me? The lights burned blue. It is now dead of midnight. Cold, fearful drops stand on my trembling flesh. What do I fear? Myself? There is none else by. Richard loves Richard. That is, I am I. Is there a murderer here? No. Yes, I am. Then fly. What, from myself? Great reason why. Lest I revenge. What, myself upon myself? Alack, I love myself. Wherefore? For any good that I myself have done unto myself? Oh, no, alas, I'd rather hate myself for hateful deeds committed by myself. I am a villain, yet I lie. I am not. Fool, of thyself speak well. Fool, do not flatter. My conscience hath thousand several tongues. Every tongue brings in several tale, and every tale condemns me for a villain. Perjury, perjury in the highest degree. Murder, stem murder. In the deepest, direst degree. All several sins, all used in each degree. Thronged to the bar, crying all, guilty, guilty. I shall despair. There is no creature loves me, and if I die, no soul shall pity me. Nay, wherefore should they? Since that I, myself, find in myself no pity to myself. Methought the soul of all that I had murdered came to my tent, and every one did threat tomorrow's vengeance on the head of Richard.
My lord.
Zounds! Who's there?
Ratcliffe, my lord, 'tis I. The early village cock hath twice done salutation to the morn. Your friends are up and buckle on their armour.
Oh, Radcliffe, I have dreamt a fearful dream. What thinkest thou? Will our friends prove all true?
No doubt, my lord.
Oh, Radcliffe, I fear.
Nay, good my lord, be not afraid of shadow.
By the Apostle Paul, shadows tonight have struck more terror to the soul of Richard than can the substance of 10,000 soldiers, armed in proof and led by shallow Richmond. It is not yet near day. Come, go with me. Under our tents I'll play the eavesdropper to see if any mean to shrink from me.
Good morrow, Richmond.
Morrow, Richmond.
Cry mercy, lords, and watchful gentlemen, that you have taken a tardy sluggard here.
Have you slept, my lord?
The sweetest sleep, and fairest boding dreams that ever entered into a drowsy head. Have I since your departure had, my lords? Methought their souls whose bodies Richard murdered came to my tent and cried on victory. I promise you, my soul is very jocund. My soul is very jocund in the remembrance of so fair a dream. How far into morning is it, lords?
Upon the stroke of 4.
Why, then 'tis time to arm and give direction. More than I have said, loving countrymen, the leisure and enforcement of the time forbids to dwell upon. Yet remember this, God and our good cause fight upon our side. The prayers of holy saints and wronged souls, like high-reared bulwarks, stand before our faces. Richard except, those whom we fight against had rather have us win than him they follow. For what is he they follow? Truly, gentlemen, a bloody tyrant and a homicide, one raised in blood and one in blood established, one that made means to come by what he hath, and slaughtered those that were the means to help him. A base foul stone made precious of thy foil of England's chair, where he is falsely set, one that hath ever been God's enemy. Then, if you fight against God's enemy, God will in justice ward you as his soldiers. If you do sweat to put a tyrant down, you sleep in peace, the tyrant being slain. If you do fight against your country's foes, your country's fat shall pay your pains the higher. If you do fight in safeguard of your wives shall welcome home the conquerors. If you do free your children from the sword, your children's children quit in your age. Then, in the name of God and all these right things, of all these rights, advance your standards, draw your willing swords. For me, The ransom of my bold attempt shall be this cold corpse on the earth's cold face. But if I thrive, the gain of my attempt, the least of you shall share his part thereof. Sound drums and trumpets boldly and cheerfully. God and St. George, Richmond and victory.
Amen.
What said Northumberland as touching Richmond?
That he was never trained up in arms.
He said the truth. And what said Surrey then?
He smiled and said, the better for our purpose.
He was right in the right, and so indeed it is. 10, the clock there. Give me a calendar. Who saw the sun today?
Not I, my lord.
Then he disdains to shine. For by the brook, he should have braved the east an hour ago. A black day will it be to somebody. Radcliffe,
My lord?
the sun will not be seen today. The sky doth frown and lower upon our army. I would these dewy tears were from the ground, not shine today. Why, what is that to me more than to Richmond? The selfsame heaven that frowns upon me looks sadly upon him.
My lord, the foe vaunts in the field.
Come, bustle, bustle. Comparison my horse. Call up Lord Stanley. Bid him to bring his power. I will lead forth my soldiers to the plain. And thus my battle shall be ordered. My forward shall be drawn out in length, consisting equally of horse and foot. Our archers shall be placed in the midst. John Duke of Norfolk, Tom Earl of Surrey, shall have the leading of this foot and horse. They shall thus directed, we will follow in the main battle, whose puissance on either side shall be well winged with our chiefest horse. This and St. George to boot. What thinkest thou, Norfolk?
A good direction, warlike sovereign. This found I on my tent this morning.
Let's see. Jockey of Norfolk, be not too bold, for Dickon thy master is bought and sold. A thing devised by the enemy. Go, gentlemen, every man to his charge. Let not our babbling dreams affright our souls. Conscience is but a word that cowards use. Devise at first to keep the strong in awe. Our strong arms be our conscience, swords our law. March on, join bravely, let us to pell-mell, if not to heaven, then hand in hand to hell. What shall I say more than I have inferred? Remember whom you are to cope withal, a sort of vagabonds, rascals, runaways, a scum of Bretons, a base lackey peasants, whom their overcloyed country vomits forth to desperate ventures and to assured destruction. You, sleeping safe, they bring to your unrest. You, having lands and blessed with beauteous wives, they would restrain the one, disdain the other. And who doth lead them but a paltry fellow, long kept in bretage at our mother's cost, a milksop, one that never in his life felt so much cold as over shoes in snow. Let us whip these stragglers over the seas again. Lash hence these overweening rags of France, these famished beggars, weary of their lives, who, but for dreaming on this fond exploit, for want of means, poor rats, had hanged themselves. If we be conquered, let men conquer us, and not these bastard Bretons whom our fathers have in their own land beaten, bobbed and thumped, and in record left them the heir of shame. Shall these enjoy our lands, lie with our wives, ravish our daughters? Hark! I hear their drum. Fight, gentlemen of England, fight, bold yeomen. Draw, archers, draw your arrows to the head. Spur your proud horses hard, ride in blood. Amaze the welkin with your broken staves. What? What says Lord Stanley? Will he bring his power?
My lord, he doth deny to come.
Off with his son George's head.
My lord, the enemy is past the marsh. After the battle, let George Stanley die.
1,000 hearts are great within my bosom. Advance our standards. Set upon our foes. Our ancient word of courage. Fair Saint George. Inspire us with the spleen of fiery dragons. Upon them, victory sits in our helms.
Scene 4, another part of the field. Alarm excursion, enter Norfolk and forces fighting, to him Shakespeare.
Rescue, my lord of Norfolk! Rescue! Rescue! The king enacts more wonders than a man, daring so opposite to every danger. His horse is slain, and all on foot he fights, seeking for Richmond and the throat of death. Rescue, my lords, or else the day is lost.
A horse! A horse! My kingdom for a horse!
Withdraw, my lord, I'll help you to a horse.
Slave, I have set my life upon a cast, and I will stand the hazards of the die. I think there be 6 Richmonds in the field. 5 I have slain today instead of him. A horse! A horse! My kingdom for a horse!
Scene 5, another part of the field. Enter King Richard III and Richmond. They fight. King Richard is slain. Retreat and flourish. We enter Richmond. Derby bearing the crown with the verse of the Lord.
God in your arms be praised, victorious friends. The day is ours. The bloody dog is dead.
Courageous Richmond, well hast thou acquit thee. Lo, here this long usurped royalty from the dead temples of this bloody wretch have I plucked off, to grace thy brows withal. Wear it, enjoy it, and make much of it.
Great God of heaven, say amen to all. But tell me, is young George Stanley living?
He is, my lord, and safe in Leicester town, whither, if it please you, we may now withdraw.
What men of name are slain on either side?
The Duke, John Duke of Norfolk, Walter Lord's fair heirs, Sir Robert Brackenbury, and Sir William Brandon.
And into their bodies has become their births. Proclaim a pardon to the soldiers fled, that in submission will return to us. And then, as we had taken the sacrament, we will unite the white rose and the red, smile of heaven upon this fair conjunction, that long have frowned upon their enmity. What traitor hears me and says not amen? England hath long been mad, scarred herself. The brother blindly shed the brother's blood. The father rashly slaughtered his own son. The son, compelled, been butchered to the sire. All this divided York and Lancaster, divided in their dire division. Oh, now let Richmond and Elizabeth, the true succeeders of each royal house, by God's fair ordinance conjoin together, and let their heirs, God, if thy will be so, enrich the time to come with smooth-faced peace, with smiling plenty and fair prosperous days. Abate the edge of traitors, gracious Lord, that would reduce these bloody days again, and make poor England weep in streams of blood. Let them not live to taste this land's increase, that would with treason wound this fair land's peace. Now civil wounds are stopped, peace lives again, that she may long live here. God say amen.
Amen.
That's cool.
Good to be the king, yeah? Red Rose as they're combined nowadays. It's Richard III, and this is Edward, Richmond, later to be Henry IV.
Wow.
Seven. I'm sorry. And this is a little.
They're not actual pictures.
These are portraits from the National Gallery of Art in London. Yes. This is none other than the late Anthony Sher from Royal Shakespeare Company. He just passed away about a month ago. He played the crippled Richard III in what do you call those, crutches and limping legs. He was a mess, but what an actor. He could skip across the stage so fast and make your head spin. Anthony Sher, rest his soul.
That's he. So Richard III, like, do they actually say what deformity he had?
It was the scoliosis.
Scoliosis is a curvature of the spine that goes sideways.
That's right.
Rather than humpback, which is goes forward, scoliosis is sideways.
Seeing you for Comedy of Errors, which is on the 23rd, is it? Yes, 23rd of January.
And you see these on my channel. Subscribe.
Yeah, I will subscribe. Yeah, I'll look at it all. When you play a guy like Rich, or like a play like this, like Henry V or Richard III, is there a certain type of, like, you have to do some type of voice training and lessons on how to, like?
It really wouldn't hurt. The biggest thing is your enunciation for and breath control for all the lines that you can get out. I was breathless in a couple of times tonight, I've noticed. And yeah, you can carry it further, and that's what Richard is for, because he taught Shakespeare and drama at the Catholicism school.
Who's deeply rooted in acting and knows, like, Shakespeare and that kind of stuff. They're immediately going to see my last name and then ask me, like, hey, have you even done the research? You know, like, are you, like, what happens if I make it into Hollywood, if that should ever happen? And then people start asking me, hey, so did you know that you were this? And
there's not too many other people that know Richard Burbage or William Burbage unless they've done their Shakespeare.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since that guy, I've had quite a few people mention to me, like, hey, did you know who Richard Burbage is? And, like, do you know about the Globe Theater? And I'm like, oh man, this is embarrassing if I don't know this stuff and that's my last name. It's like I need to change it, you know.
No, you should just keep saying, I don't know if I'm related to him. I haven't checked.
Just say no relation, but I'm doing my best.
Right. Well, here's what's crazy is, like, my head is turning on this thing because when I asked my mother, I was like, because I've never met my grandfather, who I got the name from, and he is a guy who came from, his family is in the East Coast. His whole family is an East Coast family. They're, white guy, East Coast family. And when I did the research on the Burbage family, there is record of the Burbage family leaving England, I think during the colonial times, and they came to America. So I'm like,
yeah,
maybe you are related.
I'm like, I don't know, somewhere hundreds of years down the line, maybe, You
could maybe do a DNA thing or something.
I think that's the next step for me, is to do that, so that I can be sure. Because I mean,
anyway, good night, gentlemen. I just wanted to say, I liked your horse lines. They were really good, man. I didn't know it was said twice.
It was great.
It's the first time I've seen it.
Wow.
All right, see you guys later. Next time.
Thanks so much. What time is it on mainland? Oh my, we kept you up too late.
Nah, I'm usually up this late anyway.
All right, good. But I understand Denzel was not exactly as evil as he could have been.
And so Macbeth was, like, really evil. Kind of like the third.
Yeah, kind of like Richard. Obviously, Mr. Burbage played the role.
Richard.
Oh, yeah. In those days, those latter days, 1590s. Yeah, he was there.
Man, that would be crazy if I end up doing the DNA test and I end up being linked to that family. I would have to, like, I think I would be obliged at some point in my career to try to do the same as him, like to go to do that.
You gotta find your Mr. Shakespeare first.
Yeah, for sure.
You could do like a whole one-man show Burbage thing, you know?
There you go.
Just do all his great roles in his plays and everything. I mean,
Do people do that? Do people do that? One man plays like that?
Oh yeah.
Yes, Patrick Stewart is renowned for doing his Christmas Carol as all the characters.
What?
And,
That's crazy.
yes, Simon Callow also has done that. Not Simon Cowell, but Simon Callow.
Okay.
And he's a great Dickens fanatic. As a matter of fact, I have his Simon Callow's book on Dickens. And,
oh, cool.
Yeah, he's got his name on that one. And he's a quite exciting actor. I'm going to hail you on and hope you have a good evening.
Yes, you guys too. Thank you so much for
I'm glad you finally made it.
Okay, it's bye. Mahalo.
What, 2019?
No, it was 2019.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I know.
Took care of it.
Good night, Chaka.
Yeah.
All right, guys. It was nice meeting you, Mike.
Bye,
Jim.